If you've not been sleeping due to cyber concerns and are attending this talk, I will do my best to keep you awake. Welcome to RSA. I would like to thank you for attending this session. I'm going to be speaking about the ways cyber criminals can attack through simple, uncomplicated means ranging to complex, intricate schemes. But I'm also going to be talking about how you can ultimately protect yourself from both. RSA 2020 was the last physical event that I attended. Ironically, while in San Francisco for this, I received notification that I just hit the 1 million mile mark with Air Canada. Like most of you, I've not flown since, and I do not see this changing in the near term. Simply put, COVID has led to a massive shift to remote everything: working, buying and selling, banking, just to mention a few. This wide dispersion of cyber interactions has resulted in an exponential growth of attack surfaces. Given the rapid transition, as with other similar disruptive changes, this has also led to less strategized security responses. Our journey will start with an overview of threats as analyzed and compiled by BlackBerry. Next, I will introduce an emerging cyber threat landscape that is coming at us like a tsunami, something you may not have given a thought to, even though it likely will affect all of us, and it will affect all of us in the very near future. This is an area where you, as part of the cyber community, have the power to personally affect the shape of this brave new world. I'll review details of this later, but if you're worried you might never sleep again, don't. As a reward for your patience, I will be giving away cybersecurity secrets and advice that will protect you and your business or company from the vast majority of threats. All of this in the next 28 minutes. So let's get started. In a world with increasing connectivity and rapidly evolving mobility solutions, anyone focused on building or deploying secure and trusted products or services could suffer from a justified lack of sleep. Despite the threats we face, from simple to sophisticated, BlackBerry has a long track record of building and securing our connected lives. There are patterns that make cyber threats more predictable and a methodology that allows us to protect ourselves. In this diagram, you will see a vault that contains a few walls. This is often the reality on a cyber data landscape. Many corporations put in preventative measures while missing the comprehensive and holistic solutions that would provide the missing walls. Even with a fully built vault or protected system, without the proper simple precautions, you're essentially leaving the combination on a Post-it note on the door of the vault, which is not good. It only takes one breach to get access to an entire system. So who am I? And why am I speaking to you about this? This is one topic that keeps me awake at night. My threat management skills were honed as a kid, growing up with 5 brothers and a pretty tough sister on a family farm. We had to be agile and find solutions quickly on many fronts. I drove machinery, was an electrician, a plumber, and a veterinarian. Of course, many of the threats were physical and came from my older brothers. Earlier in my career, I wrote software that controlled a banking machine, and I spent some early days breaking into systems. Security was always top of mind, even if sometimes it was getting around it just for the challenge. Early in my career, I wrote a white paper on 20 ways to become a super user in less than a minute. I had the privilege of evolving my skills through work with IBM, Bell Northern Research, Cisco, Juniper, Dyson Engineering, and now BlackBerry. I've witnessed technology disruption across computers, internet, mobile, cloud, and I've always been interested in how we secure this technology. It's really one of the most pressing issues of our quickly evolving uber-connected world. Today, I am Chief Technology Officer at BlackBerry. As part of this role, I run an innovation lab with over 100 people looking for advancements in security across enterprise, automotive, and government spaces. A key part of what BlackBerry has always done is providing privacy by securing data. Over the last decade, we have evolved into a security software company. Our most recent acquisition of Cylance in the early 2019 gives us a next generation antivirus ML technology. ML is essential for fighting cyber challenges of the future. What does this mean, really? For antivirus, we look across billions of files and classify what is safe and what is not. And it allows us to detect malware like WannaCry years before it even exists. So to start off with, on the threat report, BlackBerry publishes, our threat researchers publish a threat report every year. And in February of this year, we launched the 2021 threat reports that basically looks at fact-based projections on the cyber threats of the previous year. I'm going to highlight some content today, but for deeper insights, I really recommend you download and read this full report. The webpage is up on the screen. You can Google BlackBerry 2021 threat report. And again, beyond what I will talk about here, there are many, many more to be found in the actual report. So, threat activity in 2020, COVID-19 as a vulnerability. This is an unprecedented year. And COVID-19 introduced many challenges, making us feel helpless. One thing I felt very personally and my team were pleased to do, we helped Canada work on the COVID alert strategy. We were involved in doing security audits and architecture audits of providing a more secure solution for this critical service when it was being deployed. COVID-19 triggered mass move from enterprise infrastructure and security to home Wi-Fi, virtual private networks, bring your own device configurations. This could have been a very precarious move. Were VPN concentrators going to support the fact that everything was now upside down? It's like planning for what happens when Niagara Falls goes backwards. It's just unprecedented. And so many people work together to try to figure out how to make it work for us. There's also much more securely sensitive content being stored in people's homes. So these aggressive dynamics accelerated what was already in progress in terms of mobile work trends. But this acceleration, it rapidly extended the threat surface as organizations around the world were focused an immediate pivot to this new work reality. Remote workers were cited as a cause of breaches for 20% of organizations since the start of the pandemic. And there's an onslaught of COVID-19 cyber attacks. Attackers attempt to trick users into installing a COVID-19 tracker application. It's actually ransomware, and then they have to pay money. There's misinformation sites. There's a high number of rogue websites. But as a security community, we need to continue to effectively address the security implications introduced by this large-scale remote work reality. We've been forced into this, and we need to continue to make it better. We need to work together. APT mercenaries. We've noted continued rise in the outsourcing of everything, including cyber espionage to mercenary APT groups. You know, these are hackers for hire. This can make threat actor identification quite challenging. At a high level, the tactics, techniques, and procedures of these mercenaries often resemble highly sophisticated state-sponsored campaigns. However, the profiles and geographies of their victims are far too diverse to be aligned with a single bad actor's interest. Threat actor identification can be extremely challenging for threat researchers with this use of APT mercenaries. Okay, the next area to discuss is cryptojacking. Bitcoin and therefore crypto mining has been around since 2009. Crypto miners receive Bitcoin by verifying transactions and solving numerical hashing problems. The rate at which Bitcoin is mined is halved every 4 years. This halving inversely affects the difficulty of mining and therefore the computing power required to effectively mine Bitcoin. Cryptojacking, the unauthorized use of computer to mine cryptocurrency, offers an illicit means to work around the rising cost of crypto mining. The infamous Slick Willie was asked why he robbed banks, and he answered, because that's where the money is. So cryptojackers often target high-powered servers in an enterprise environment in order to maximize their mining activities. Why do they do that? Because that's where the CPU horsepower is. So these server clusters are targeted attack vectors of this crypto mining. As Bitcoin goes up, so does the reward for mining it. So uh, as we're talking about vaults, the gold in the vault is getting shinier over time as the value of Bitcoin goes up. Deepfake threat activity. I'm sure everyone has seen an interesting online video of people posing as celebrities with a convincing overlay of the celebrity's appearance or voice. While entertaining and scary, this poses serious risks when we are now seeing its weaponization, which was accelerated as the world quickly pivoted to working remotely. Deep fakes posing as important political figures or celebrities have been used to spread misinformation. Symantec reports 3 cases of seemingly deep-faked audio of different chief executives. The story goes something like this. A senior official was tricked into transferring money after he received an urgent call from a fraudster who impersonated the CEO voice using deepfake technologies. And now we're seeing several deepfake as a service offerings. As normalcy returns around the world, threat actors may look towards increasing the weaponization of deepfake technologies in the workplace. Securing the electoral process. This has been quite a year in retrospective for elections. Headline from The Guardian stated, U.S. security advisor claims China has taken most active role in election meddling. If you want to hack an election, the most obvious and least imaginative way is to attack the ballot box, but there's lots of other methods. Policymakers and their teams are vulnerable targets for having their social media accounts mined for exploitable information. Election misinformation through social media or news sites can be used to seed doubt in the integrity of the election. 2021 highlighted the fact that minimizing interference is a critical aspect of maintaining free and fair elections, but it's also becoming increasingly more difficult. Bahamut is an active threat group investigated extensively by BlackBerry threat researchers in 2020. This is a well-funded, technically adept, highly secretive, and effective threat group. Bahamut may obscure its activity by imitating the same tactics, techniques, and procedures popularized by other threat groups. I don't know if you've read it, but this sounds like a subplot of Cryptonomicon. Backdoors and exploit shellcode written by Bahamut often includes anti-analysis features. When its activities are detected, the threat group quickly changes tactics and corrects any missteps leading to its exposure. Attackers keep evolving their products to evade detection so they can keep doing what they do. Mobile overlay attack. Social engineering continues to be a highly effective means for stealing payment and accessing information. Presented within the context of an installed application, a prompt for a credit card or password using a well-designed form often yields success for attackers. This trick works especially well when timed to coincide with an application launch. We're all busy. We're doing many things. We're clicking through. We don't notice that something extra is going on our device. Quite often, if a malicious application requires additional permissions, it will grant itself permissions. It can submit a request to the OS and then automatically click OK without any user involvement. This attack is quite often used around banking and information stealing malware. So this is scary, right? This mobile overlay attack does it feel like a tsunami? Well, it's not the tsunami I'm going to talk about. Let's just call this one a big wave. My tsunami is coming very shortly. Attack on critical verticals. When you want to be disruptive, critical verticals are a popular target. It's no surprise that in times of global pandemic, stuff that people care about, like healthcare and medical research, are of primary interest to cyber criminals. During 2020, BlackBerry observed increased incidents of ransomware attacks against hospitals and healthcare providers. Numerous phishing campaigns aimed at stealing login credentials targeted critical sectors. These attacks on critical verticals are great examples of opportunistic events that occur as a result of major disruption. So this concludes the high-level teaser content from the threat report. Please do download it and read it, though. There's some really great content in there. So this concludes my threat report teaser. On my next screen, I'm going to show you, there's going to be a video of a woman on a computer. I am sure nothing bad will happen to this situation. Oh my. Would you pay? Many people do. Some people say everybody pays. But we are familiar with the impact of being compromised on equipment that we use every day, such as our laptop. The effect can vary wildly from the minor inconvenience of having to pay ransomware to a major inconvenience, such as outright identity theft. This is life-changing, catastrophic events. I talked to people at security conferences, or I talked to people at security conferences in the past, and you could just see in their face the impact of, I've had one gentleman in London, England, talking about a room full of computers that had to be re-imaged, and their entire inventory across a global supply chain had been wiped out, and they had to run manually for 2 weeks. I could just feel the emotion in his voice as he told these stories, and there's so many of them. So just as I pause here, how well are you protected? Do you have 2FA and secure passwords, unique secure passwords on everything? Do you have a zero trust architecture? Do you follow the principles of least privileges? I wonder, were you impacted by the SolarWinds security incident? How are you protected now and into the future? Just imagine this cyber attack. Imagine the impact of a similar type of cyber attack, a security attack, but in a 2-ton computer moving at 56 kilometers per hour. Now the impact has gone from inconvenient to impacting the safety of yourself and others around you. Cyber physical security is a new risk in this emerging kinetic IoT space. This was the tsunami I was talking about at the beginning. And by the way, it's also covered in the threat report as a special topic. Connected vehicles, which can contain over 100 independent developed software components, are difficult to secure due to the multiple vendors involved in their assembly. The sheer number of international entities participating in the automotive supply chain make enforcing common cyber security criteria extremely challenging. Vehicles are increasingly connected to the internet, and this will be ramping aggressively in the near future, especially with the emergence of 5G. So, connected cars. Let's just lay a baseline. Things used to be simpler. With vehicles, we're in the midst of a rapid transformation led by the commodification of hardware and the rise of complexity and sheer amount of software on each vehicle. The trends are clear. Cars are increasing their CPU capabilities and converging on larger, more capable compute clusters. The number of connected cars is increasing dramatically. The bandwidth to the car is increasing dramatically. Electrification and autonomous development are all driving increased software in the vehicle. This is a major, major evolution that we're witnessing. You are literally driving around in a server right now when you're in your car. There's an adage, we learn this time and time again, as we add CPU and bandwidth, features will certainly follow. But look at this, there's growing complexity already today in the car. This diagram shows an increasingly more feature-rich automobile, increased connectivity, local and cloud compute capabilities, and the introduction of many new vehicle capabilities. It leads to a much broader feature list and emergence of software as a key differentiator. I'm not going to go through it all, but night vision, lane correction, heads-up display, you get the trend, adaptive this, automatic that. We're experiencing a rapid development of driver assist functionality, leading to more and more autonomous, or leading towards more autonomous features. Perhaps you have some autonomous features on your current vehicle, like lane assist, automatic braking, or automatic parking. It's predicted by 2030, electronics plus software will be about 50% the cost of the car. But where from a cybersecurity perspective does this leave us? This diagram shows a broader vehicle cockpit and cloud with some threats for illustrative purposes. A closer view on the details: stealing passwords, open source vulnerabilities, man-in-the-middle attacks, shows us that many of the threats we already have been dealing with are also applicable in the car. Key threat vectors: internet-based attacks, 4G, 5G, sensor attacks, GPS, radar, hardware attacks, OBD2 ports, USB, near-field wireless, Bluetooth, key fobs, the list goes on. Additional threats surface with this new functionality means increased need for resilience and cybersecurity. Service-oriented business models are also taking shape, which means not only safety concerns, but privacy and financial implications, since we're looking at the introduction of integrated payment systems. Complexity of the cloud adds additional challenges, and many current vehicle attacks are cloud-focused today. There is hope and work, of course. There's new cybersecurity regulation adopted by UNCEC WP.29. It's being introduced that requires automakers to adhere to cybersecurity requirements, and automakers have the flexibility in tailoring the requirements into their processes. The cybersecurity UN regulation is supported by international standard ISO SAE 21434. So you'll hear that. If you're not already familiar with this, WP29 21434. But this is an area where cybersecurity experts can help take their knowledge that they possess today and the solutions that they use today, take this knowledge to this new platform to make it safer, faster. Until effective cybersecurity protocols and procedures are incorporated into the design and manufacture of vehicles, modern automobiles could effectively be considered insecure networks. Okay, so that concludes my deeper dive on connected automobiles and my tsunami that I had teased about at the beginning. But we're now on to the hopeful chapter of my presentation: cybersecurity best practices top 10 list. Some of you, I imagine this community knows who David Letterman is, so it's inspired by him. Whether we're building new products from embedded systems to vehicles to enterprise software, or looking to improve security in our systems that we already have been deployed, we see common tactics that are used by our adversaries to exploit vulnerabilities. But there's also common principles that we can employ to protect from such attacks, whether simple or sophisticated. We can get much closer to a much safer system. Some of these will apply to you directly, and others may not, but it's important that you study your cyber readiness from a broad perspective. Okay, number 10, cybersecurity best practices top 10 list. Number 10, trusted foundation. Building analogy. The value on the top will not be stable without a trusted foundation. Look at your people, your process, your technology, your hardware, your software, your dev practice. Ensure you have a root of trust. You need a deterministic architecture that behaves well under stress, under load, or under attack. I like to say security cannot be retrofitted. Ask yourself and other experts, can I really trust this foundation? Number 9, use secure components. Analogy: one weak wall in a vault makes it it makes it less vault-like, I would say. So, it's the one wall makes a vault useless. Proper authentication of software and hardware components is important. On a car, you could isolate your safety and non-safety components, perhaps through a hypervisor. Laptops and smartphones use a trusted computing base for critical items. You may have heard of the trusted execution environment. Use proven components with defense in-depth deployment. So if we look at system on chips, they must be secure in architecture and have access ports protected. Did you shut down debug ports or default accounts? Is your memory secure? These SoCs should store a secret key and act as the root of trust for secure boot, verifying software before it's loaded. The operating system must have multi-level security features such as access control policies, encrypted file systems, rootless execution, path space control, thread level anomaly detection, and applications in a vehicle. All applications that are downloaded should be certified and signed with proper authorities before they're run. A signed manifest file will set the permissions of these resources. These applications must always run in a sandbox. These are the kinds of things we should be looking at. Number 8, protect the supply chain. And you notice we added one wall to the vault. Code scanning or composition analysis. Use sophisticated binary code scanning during software development or delivery to provide an assessment which includes file composition, what kind of CVEs are contained in the file, if any, what kind of vulnerabilities and indicators and metrics to enable a secure, agile software solution. This data can be used to improve the software to reduce its security risk prior to production builds. The other thing you need to look at is continuous physical security at vendor sites. Ensure that all vendors and vendor sites are certified via vulnerability assessment and are required to maintain a certificate of approved for delivery. And this evaluation needs to be performed on a continuous basis. The SolarWinds incident reported in December of 2020 reminded the world that effective threat detection is a critical component of a secure environment. It also showed a scary attack vector, one that infects the dev pipeline. I wonder if you were impacted by that. Number 7, secure communications channels in your product. Do not leave any clear text or easily readable data. Do not move data on or off your device unencrypted, unprotected. Government secure phones had something called DDAR, dual data at rest, with different certs applied to each layer of the encryption. Very, very hard to decode that. All device communication was also encrypted, data in flight. This was looked at through a few lenses. So how strong is your encryption, but also who is it that's doing this operation on your system and what are they allowed to do? So encryption, authentication, and authorization all need to be looked at. And this applies within the endpoint to cloud, cloud to cloud. So for specifically on a vehicle, this means ensuring all communication between the automobile and the external world is authentic and trusted. Number 6, develop using secure methodologies. A developer can be paid a lot to inject malware. How do you catch this? Could you catch it today? You should agree on project-specific security requirements, including the extent of assessment activities at the beginning of a project, tracking and reporting metrics related to training. Product and security teams should be able to view the metrics and trends at any time. Maintaining and using common security guidance catalog that contains specific requirements, recommendations, and procedures for avoiding security vulnerabilities, and complying with different customer requirements. This is really important for traceability for standards or safety. Number 5, monitor for anomalies. Ensure that all software has integrated analytics and diagnostics that can capture events and logs and report the same to a cloud. Basically, is the device running normally, or is there something abnormal happening in the device? This will vary by device, but it could be, is there a root user on the device? How many files are open? How busy is the CPU? How much memory is being used? Is the communication going off the correct ports? You need to really monitor to make sure that the device has not been compromised and is acting strange due to some kind of crypto event. This is incidentally a very important area of focus for the use of machine learning and security solutions. With the volume of data in today's systems and the speed at which breaches occur, this is an essential tool for helping you protect your company. I like to think of this monitor for anomalies as putting a camera inside the vault to monitor what's going on, just in case someone happens to breach the exterior. Plan for getting compromised. Basically, a perfectly secure system is not possible. You need to know what you're going to do in the event that you are compromised. Lay out details for steps you would take if, in fact, your system is compromised. Reduce the blast radius, have a response communication plan, have a remediation recovery plan. So many times when a critical event happens, people are not prepared. Prepare for it and act on it. This is an important business continuity step. Do you have critical communications infrastructure today that will continue to work when your systems have been breached? Number 3, deliver updates and address vulnerabilities. We're getting closer. Let's add one more wall to the vault. A device that is not updated is a ticking time bomb for being compromised, as hackers essentially have all the time in the world and all the known CVEs at their disposal. Future-proof your system, but make sure you have a secure OTA while you're doing it. Remember, detecting the threat is only one step. Actually closing the gap with a software update is an important one. It's quite common for old threats to go unaddressed for seemingly surprisingly long periods. We are still seeing reports of the continued threat of WannaCry ransomware, even though the attack occurred 4 years ago. Millions of people are still running Windows XP. I doubt they come to RSA. That's my assertion. I could be wrong. Number 2, drive holistic protection. We talk about prepare, prevent, detect, and respond. Think about all 4 of those phases in your cybersecurity posture. I know it's a top 10 list and I snuck 4 onto 1, but it bears repeating. Think about these 4: prepare, prevent, detect, and respond. It only takes one entry point to lose control. And number 1, cybersecurity best practices top 10 list. Number 1 is prioritize a security culture. Security as a community approach. Learn from and leverage the best that is available. Defense in depth. There is a lot of historical knowledge that can be applied. If you do not architect a plan to protect yourself, you are left with hoping you are not impacted. And my friends, hope is not a good strategy. Watch how others are attacked. Try to hack yourself. Have a bug bounty, pay people to hack you. And then we see the wall of the safe going on. Security is not about one person or one team. Everyone can help. Security education can help your coworkers, your employees, your family members, friends, all be safer. So here's the top 10 list at a glance. Adopting these principles, in our view, is very similar to making sure that all sides of your safe are intact and that you haven't forgotten to lock the safe with a good, strong password. And make it 2-factor for good measure. Adopt these principles will also allow you to rest assured that no matter what threat materializes, you will be more prepared. It may not apply to all your needs, but there is general wisdom in this list. So looking at this list, how did you do for alignment with these best practices? So we talked about the threat report. We drilled in on connected vehicles, current and future. And remember, you can help us make that environment safer. And then we walked through a top 10 list to help make us more prepared. Your data is your data, and your information can be protected from both lazy and the sophisticated cyber criminals. With security technology and best practices, please be vigilant, well, and safe from viruses of all kinds. Thank you very much for attending this session. And if you're still with me now and not sleeping like our CISO in this picture, I can still take questions.